Good morning, all. Sorry I'm running a little late.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi,
Good
Will.
morning, everybody. Morning.
Good morning, Will. Good to see you, Miriam.
Yep.
I thought there was something wrong with my computer.
Well, there's always something wrong with our computers. That's why we come here.
Weren't you guys frustrated by not being able to log on?
I was. I agree with you, Will.
Not frustrated. We were worried.
Oh,
Yeah.
I finally ended up calling our host, and he said, "Oh, I'm just running a little late."
That can happen. So just, give people a little bit of space and
Yeah.
eventually things work out.
In Hawaii, running a little late involves running 3 hours earlier than you guys. Where's Ross? There's Ross. Ross Waves. Oh, we're up to 17 participants. So, and it's 7:36 here, so I'll wait a few more. 18 now. Let's see if we get 20 within the next 5 minutes. Anybody have any Zoom problems this morning?
Not worth mentioning.
Yeah. Other than, well, waiting for the host to show up, everything's been smooth.
Hmm.
It's a lesson in patience.
Grasshopper.
And for those of us who do not have that patience, it's a lesson in frustration.
Learn from it.
I want to give a shout out to Paul Mack. He's showing an old buddy of mine from 40 years ago, probably, Bob White. So he's trying to get Bob up familiar with the system.
Arlene, are you now in Colorado? Arlene Way? You're muted, Arlene.
While Arlene's figuring out how to unmute, Dan has his virtual hand up.
Yes, I had all different sign-ons this morning. I don't know what was going on, but it came up differently than it normally does. With a big blue band across the front said Zoom. And I don't know if that was because it wasn't ready yet or what was going on, but we may have a new Zoom edition. I don't know.
New version. Yep, it updated for you.
Zoom has changed its appearance.
That's what I'm saying. My appearance of my screen was different this morning.
So we will blame Zoom and not blame our illustrious host. He gets enough already.
Am I unmuted?
You are now.
Oh, goody. So we have been here 3 days. Our furniture is somewhere in transit. We are booked into a motel until the furniture gets here, but we are presently in the apartment that we're going to occupy. Behind me, you can see there's a kitchen. And it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and very nice neighborhood. And we have a nice outdoor terrace.
Well, great.
Couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. And apparently you have internet connection as well.
Well, my phone does.
Hmm.
The Xfinity is signed up for, but not actually installed yet. So I couldn't call on the iPad or Peter's computer. It's the phone or nothing. So this is my first adventure with Zoom on the phone. So forgive me if I make mistakes.
Looks
So
like
far,
it's
so
working
good.
great.
Presumably you do have electricity.
Oh, yes. And air conditioning and a view and lots of family around.
Very good. Glad to hear it.
Well, we're up to 18 and it hasn't changed in a bit. And it's 7:40-ish.
Mhm.
So I'm going to mute everyone and ask Ross to unmute himself and begin.
Okay. So let's see. If I share screen here and I want to share which one here? Yep, that's it. Okay. So today I was going to talk about my new Verizon wireless connection. The main reason to move to the Verizon wireless or any other internet provider as such was the cost to begin with, and then what's going to happen in the near future. So now I'm paying $25 a month for the 5G router. And if you look down here with the 619 number here, that's the telephone number of my router. So that's my account number for the router, which is kind of interesting. But since I do cell phones, I guess that makes sense to use that. I was in the past paying for internet. I was paying $130 for internet and television, no telephone. For my cell phone service, I was paying $60 a month. So I was at $190. Now I'm down to $100. So that's one of the main reasons what I changed over to save $100 a month. So far, the service has been flawless. I got the device shipped to me. I put it up in an upper window in my office, plugged in the power connection, waited for the light on the power on that box to go from blinking to solid, plugged in my my router connection into that modem from Verizon, and it's just worked. When I ran the speed test earlier today, we can go back and do it again now. Speeds do vary depending on what's going on with any internet connection. When I first plugged this in, it was 190 down and about 10, I think, up. Now it's 4 and about 50 or 68. Which is about what I had. It's less than what that's more than what I had before with Cox, Spectrum, but it's more than enough to get us up and going. I just Google for speed test and it comes up and says, let me run the speed test with the Google speed test. And then that seems to be a good way to check your internet connection. Of course, all your internet providers want you to use their connection speed, and those should vary a little bit, 10 to 20%, I would imagine. But it should work just fine as far as performance. Now for telephone, many years ago, I went away from the telephone through Spectrum to UMA. I think Will mentioned that he has the same service. This is a box that's about the size of an answering machine. This one has a Wi-Fi connection to the internet. Mine, I use a wired connection to the internet. So this box and a handset is $99. When you get the device, they will give you a cell phone, give you a telephone number and your area code. I chose to say I want to move my existing telephone number over, which is called porting. And that costs $50. And it doesn't matter which device you go to. If you go from a cell phone to a landline to a cell phone, it's still $50. So that I've got, and then once you get this installed, all you do is pay the taxes for the telephone line. So that's like $5 for phone line. I don't have any long distance charges. I don't have any other charges. I do buy from them for $10 a month an answering service that will then send me a transcript of that email, to my email. Okay, speed test. For television, right now, we're just using Prime to get on or YouTube to watch movies and all. I have ordered, but I don't have this device, which is from a company called HotPage. And that will then record off of the antenna that I have for the UHF Wi-Fi, UHF channel. So I will get the local channels. And that's all I really wanted was local TV channels. I don't need or want to pay for any services for television. I read that a lot of people are moving away from cable services called cable cutting, and also all the streaming services, since people are back to work, are dropping off. So it's a common practice at this time to go to different services. It will take a little work sometimes and get used to it, but if you make a list that says, here's the things I want to have, say the channels that I want to watch, movie channels I want to see, and then look at alternatives. You can possibly do the same thing as I did, which is basically turn off all services from my cable service, which is no longer a cable. It happens to be wireless, but it was my previous internet connection. There are many ways that you can get internet. As Arlene mentioned, you can get cellular data. If you have a data plan on your cell phone, you can use that to connect to a computer, a laptop, or a desktop if it has a Wi-Fi card on there. But you have to watch your data plan. So again, if you have an unlimited data plan, you might be able to use that, but you also have to make sure that that data plan includes your cell phone as a hotspot. But in a pinch, it'll work just great. AT&T and some of the other companies are offering fiber connection. All the other services that come in by a wire or fiber have to have that infrastructure in the street, and it costs a lot of money to put it in. And if you don't have that, then again, you can pay for that, but it can run thousands of dollars for them to bring in a connection just for you. What they try to do, like in apartment buildings, is they get a group of people together, and then that's how they pay for that service to come into the building. If it's AT&T service that you're using, Uverse, they use the same old 2 wires that used to be used before for your telephone. It's okay, but it is really limited by the amount of distance between your home and what they call their switch, which is where they have all their information. If you get to be too far away, then Uverse won't work. But again, you have to look at that. One of the other things that I didn't mention on here, one of the things I really didn't like is that it seemed like every other month a price would go up on my my internet bill. So here, and I finally see it in writing, they've told me up to 10 years it may be guaranteed as no price increase, but at least for 2 years, there is no price increase. If I step up to the next higher level for $10 a month, then I got 3 years. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll wait for 2.5 years and then talk to them about going up to the next service, and maybe I'll get another 3 years of no increase in price. But that's, again, instead of being $130 a month, I'm down to $25 a month for that service. Uma Prime Video. It plugged in, like I said, right away. It worked just fine. And I had no real problems with Spectrum whatsoever. So it's just, again, they're just for price. Now, you can also get 5G 5th generation cellular connections from T-Mobile. And it depends on what they have available in what areas. When I got my service, it actually came with a guy that came door to door to sell me that. I kind of think he came out directly to me because I had been asking for it from Verizon. But they had a limited number of slots that they could sell. And to me, that's for performance. They don't want to put 1,000 people on this same tower and not have enough bandwidth on their side to provide internet there. But you have to have a cellular tower that has been upgraded to higher performance 5G, and then you should be able to get 5G internet on that service. And it's rolling out. I don't know how fast, and if it's going to be in your area, you have to check with your providers out there. But mine has been rock solid, no problem with it whatsoever. Same with Uma. Uma has just plugged in and said hello. Works just fine. You do need to go in on this as you do on a cell phone and say, this is where this device is physically located. So that if you dial 911, it directs you to the right place. Now, this device could be moved to a different location. It's hooked up by internet. So if you took it to a place that's 1,000 miles away and plugged into the internet, this should work just fine. Again, you would need to update your 911 information, but there shouldn't be anything different on there. It does have a caller ID based blocking system, which is no more robo, and it seems to work pretty well. It doesn't do everything, but it works. It reduces the number of calls. We just set up the answering service to ring twice, the phone to ring twice, then go to the message. And that usually gets rid of most of the calls, and then a lot of them just drop off when they won't leave a message, and you knew it was a telemarketing call. See, let me go back over my list. I think I've talked about the things that I needed to plugged in. Everything worked. $100. Yep, that's about all on there. It just plugged in and worked. One thing I did find out, and I talked about here, was your wireless devices work best. And this is a wireless device. It connects to Verizon's wireless through outside my place. And then then I have another Wi-Fi connection available to me from this modem within my place. But the higher you have those devices in your location, this modem needs to be in a window. And then again, as high as it can be, makes that work better throughout your whole place. So if you're having trouble with Wi-Fi signals throughout your place, see if you can't just move that device physically higher on the top of a bookshelf or something else so that the Wi-Fi signal isn't as obstructed. Because if you look around your place and say from here to here, what would block that? And any wall, any door, any devices, any file cabinet, something like that can easily block that signal. So get it as physically high as you can get it. I think that's it. Ready for questions? I guess Hank's got your hand up first.
Yes, Ross, you've essentially said, I don't need any standard television. You don't watch CNN, you don't watch MSNBC. And that makes your whole process much cheaper. If I personally watch a lot of news. I watch MSNBC, CNN, News Nation, and one other. So do you have any idea if you wanted those 4 television channels, how would you get them and about how much they would cost? And would that still make your deal a deal?
Well, I would say, first of all, see what you get by just going to those companies' web pages and see what they have available. I do use CNN a lot. I look at there and I don't use the live news feed, but if something is going on, a speech or something else, they do have that available and you can watch that live just through your internet connection. All the other services that you mentioned, I don't know, but you'd have to go to them. One interesting thing that I did hear this week is that ESPN is looking at offering internet-based streaming service. So you don't have to have a cable connection to get ESPN. And that they felt that if they break away and start getting people to subscribe to that service without having to go through cable, that's another nail in the coffin for cable services, which are the number of people who use that are getting lower and lower. But again, going through the internet straight to that company's web page. I use KPBS, NPR radios, news in the morning, and then in the news later in the afternoon, they have their news feed on there, and then I'll listen to that. And again, go to the various news stations. If I know something's going on, then I may go to one of the other local news stations and see what they have going on with that service. But
Yeah,
yes,
I have looked at the CNN news service on the internet and
right.
Not found it to my
It's
liking.
Okay, I
compare with
understand.
But
So you just have to work with them on all of the services. If you call them up and say, I need a lower price bill, they'll work with you and get that bill down for a period of time. Then it will start going up and up and up. Don't hesitate to ask for senior rates and see if you get a senior rate that's on there on cell phone and internet services, and see if you can't get it that way.
okay, thank you. Will, you were next. Got to unmute yourself, Will.
Yeah, they also have a low income program too. You can get internet pretty cheap. A couple of questions. Ross, do you need to have Verizon cell service to get this internet service?
No, so if you don't have Verizon cell service, then I believe you can get this by itself. But when I went in and got the service, they said, since you already have a cell phone service with us, they reduced my bill by $10.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is, I noticed you're buying a tuner for local stations. I
Yes.
just use an antenna. What's
Well,
the advantage of the tuner?
So it depends on what you get in your television. So you can hook your antenna to the back of your television and watch those channels. If you want to record those, then you need a box like what this from the Half Edge. This
Okay.
allows me to have up to 4 channels that I record. 1 or 2 is more than enough, but
Yeah.
that I just chose to get this one.
Okay, thank you.
David?
Yes, Ross, you said that you got this because they were in your particular area. What part of town is your particular area?
Bay Park, up by the Sprouts on Bay Park off of Claremont Drive.
Okay.
So I had been, there's a place to sign up for online at Verizon to say, let me know when it's available in my area. They did not let me know. There was a guy that came knocking at the door and said, I'm offering Verizon Wireless. And I kind of went, door to door, I don't know. So I sent him away, went in and checked and found out, yep, it was available. And then I did get it that way. And it was limited in the area. So you have to check for your areas. And I imagine as depending on how popular it is, and as far as how much money Verizon puts in, because they have to upgrade the service in that particular tower for you to have 5G in that area.
Okay, so yeah, are you at all concerned that as more customers come onto that tower, that your throughputs are going to get a bit limited?
I don't have any guaranteed numbers that I remember here. So far, speed has been fine, but any internet service, you have to be concerned with that.
Yeah.
Cellular, fiber, everything. It just depends on how much is in your particular area.
Yeah, it just seems that I'm 5G maybe it's certainly it's a bigger pipe than than 3 or 4G, but it's still yeah, I don't think I can put as many gigabits per second through the air as I can through a wire. But
you can, but again, it depends on how much you really need to have. Unless you're uploading, if you're hosting a web page that has video and you're trying to do that from your home location, then yeah, this is probably not going to be enough bandwidth.
Mhm.
You should look for something that has a fiber connection.
Yeah, even cable, your download speeds are often 5 times what your upload speeds are.
All of them have that type of service. As far as one that down from them is faster than up to them is generally always what it is. But fiber would be better with that, depending on what your needs are that are out there to have that. But so far for me, for the stuff that I use it for, the 60 megabits is more than I had 50 before, or 30 actually. I had 30 before down from the internet, so I'm twice the speed of what I had before.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a problem for me. I was just wondering if you were concerned that being one of the first people, you get a beautiful experience until the next 1,000 people show up.
Right. So I don't have a contract.
Okay,
on there.
so this is month to month then, or something?
It's a month to month. Now, I think if I take the modem and go somewhere else with it, then they're going to charge me for the modem, but there isn't a monthly contract on the service, just like for my cellular service.
Mhm. So they didn't charge you for the router, but that's included in your 25 per month.
Right. There was no, the first bill was $35 more, I think it was $23 more than what the other ones were. And again, I got a discount for 2 reasons. One is I let them automatically bill my credit card. That saved $10 a month. No paperless, go paperless. And also I had Verizon before, so they gave me what was called a loyalty discount.
David, if you go to the Verizon website, it shows a map of the coverage.
I can do that. I was talking with Ross at the time here. So Ross, that's different than your other thing like UMA, where you paid the money for the box, you paid the money to port, and then there's just a tiny per month.
Yeah, federal taxes on the phone line. So if you look at your bill now and you see what the federal taxes are, that's what your UMA bill will be.
Okay, and for the recording of the live TV, that was just you paid what, 120 for that box, and that's just all you paid, right?
That's it, because then I'm pulling everything over an antenna.
Did you what sort of antenna did you choose?
I bought a $20 one from Amazon, and
is this when they sort of stick up on the window antennas or something?
Well, this actually doesn't. It has a magnetic base, so actually it's inside my house right now. But it all depends on your location to where those are being broadcast from, as far as whether you need to have a bigger one outside or amplified or something else.
Yeah.
But from between $20 and $120, you should be able to get a pretty good antenna that either you mount inside your place or have to mount it to the wall outside.
Yeah, and depends if you want to pick up a weak station from somewhere in Mexico, you need a better
Yeah.
antenna.
But again,
All right.
I would say for the distance for stations is start looking at the websites for that particular provider and then see what they offer on there, because some of them are starting to put live feed videos on their websites. So to say I have to be connected through my own antenna, I can just go to that website and see what they're talking about right now.
All righty, thank you.
Pat,
Yeah, I've got a couple basic questions. The first one is, I keep getting this flyer from Cox Internet. I don't think I'm in the area where I can get Cox. But what they're saying is Cox Internet has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. And on the back side, it says if it comes from a cell phone network, it's phone internet, not home internet. So I was wondering what the difference is between those two, besides one comes from, from where it comes from. What's the difference and what's the advantage of one over the other?
I don't know what the terms mean, and you have to be real careful with that. You're getting an internet service from an internet provider, and it didn't matter to me if it's AT&T, Cox, Spectrum. You're paying for a certain speed that you're getting from that. And they will charge you differently if you say this is for a business, and it can be 5 times as much money for the same speed to a business than it is for a home internet connection. Now, can you get a gigabit download speed from Cox? Yes, mine is 60 megabits right now. So that 1,000 versus 60. Again, it depends on what you need to have. I don't have anything or do anything that needs to have anywhere near that type of bandwidth. I watch movies through Prime is the only service that I sign up for a streaming service, but you don't need to have a huge streaming service to watch Netflix or anything else. Gigabit is nice, but I'm not willing to pay for it or have it, because of what they want to keep up and grading the price.
So did you say that you have Cox then or not?
I do not have Cox. I have Verizon.
Right, okay. I just want to clarify that because I thought you said, okay, so the second question has to do with, I have Verizon for my phone, and I have AT&T Uverse. AT&T Uverse sent me the Wi-Fi extender, which I use, and it's very good. Verizon sent me an LTE extender, which we haven't got it to work, but I have to call them back about that.
Yep.
But what's the difference there? And because I don't get really good reception with my phone inside my house. It's common in this area though. So any comments on that?
Sure. So the LTE extender that is Verizon has sent you, it basically is a mini tower. Your cell phone connects to a tower, and that's how you get your cell phone service and internet to your phone. If you're in an area where you're too far away or blockages or whatever for cellular service, if you get an LTE extender, then what that does is it hooks to your internet service to provide that. You're bringing in your cell service through that LTE device through your internet. Now you need to have that LTE device again placed by a window so that it can find a satellite, because it uses that satellite location services to say, this is where in the world that tower is. Just like all the other towers are out there, they communicate back to their main office saying, this is my physical location. So as you're driving around or moving around from location to location, the cell service will move you from this tower to that tower. So again, it's critical to know where that tower is. When you put up that LTE, and I've installed them, antennas, towers, that is a cell service for you and everybody else in their neighborhood that can see that service. Now, I haven't seen any problems with performance because of that, but again, you are providing your internet to be available to be used by Verizon for a tower.
Oh, so they should pay me then almost. Okay,
Well,
so
but they didn't charge you for that device, and they're not charging you for the device. They're trying to say it works better if you use one of these. And again, you have to be relatively close to that device, within 300 foot or less, sometimes down to 100 foot from where you are trying to get your cell service and where that tower, that LTE tower, is in your home.
okay.
It's a tower, but it's a weak tower.
It's a mini, yeah, it's a low power tower. Yes.
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Ross has pointed out to Pat in the past, if she would set her cell phone to use Wi-Fi in her home, she could eliminate the issue.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Okay, so
Excuse me, Pat, why don't you want to do that?
I don't trust wireless anything, to tell you the truth. I prefer to be plugged in. I prefer to be wired.
Okay, so do you remember back in the 80s when they were following O.J. Simpson around in his Bronco? All he had with him was a cell phone. If you have a cell phone, you're reporting to the cell phone company your exact location.
Well, anyway, my third question though, you brought up a third question. So I'm got the AT&T extender up on top, high shelf and all that. And we have the LTE extender by a window, but I'm wondering, can I put those two close by each other? Or would that interfere with anything?
They're using different frequencies, so no, it shouldn't matter. But again, the LTE needs to be by a window so that again, that device can communicate directly with a satellite.
Well, it's by a window, but the window is generally closed and got.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It goes through glass, but again, you don't want it to be behind, say, a file cabinet on a wall. You want to be as little material between it and the sky.
So drapes and things like that won't matter?
Generally not.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
But again, you want to have it higher. You don't want to have it on the floor. You want to have it up and higher.
It's up. I have to climb up to get it. So yeah, it's up. Can't get any higher.
Yeah, Pat, I think generally the things that interfere with radio signals are things made of metal.
Well, also in looking at this and reading a recent article talking about putting things higher, is you don't want to have your say your portable phone base by any of these devices, because that is a wireless or a wireless phone that will interfere. So separate those as reasonably possible.
Okay, your portable phone base. So okay,
okay. And the phones themselves.
Mode.
Okay.
You are not driving. How do you?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Done, Pat?
Yep. Thank you.
Della.
You can go inside.
Hi.
No.
Go into my dining room.
Hi.
Here. Go into my.
I have a couple questions. We have been using AT&T UVerse for quite many years.
Yep.
Until last year, we used for internet service, television service, and the cell phone service, and also phone service, follow them. And last year, someone says, how much asked us how much we pay for the cell phone service. They would charge us $105 for 2 lines. And they were saying you can use the T-Mobile, it costs a lot less. And so we changed. T-Mobile only charges $63 for 2 lines. So that was a saving for us.
Okay.
Then we will continue use AT&T service. They no longer have our smartphone service, but they start increase the price.
Hmm.
We paid for $207 for 4 service. Then they would charge, including $105 for smartphone service. So we removed that. Then they continue at the price went up. We still pay them pretty good. It's paying them $193 only for 3 services. But the saving for the smartphone, because we only pay T-Mobile $63. Now today you are mentioned about UMA, right? I like to find out is we currently still have 3 services from AT&T. That's internet service, television service, and telephone service.
Right.
When you mention UMA, is what kind of service is that? Is that just for internet service?
No, it uses your existing internet service from whomever you get it from to that box, and that box then becomes your telephone service. So then you would no longer have AT&T for your telephone service. And if you say, I really still need to keep that landline, then you can take that landline with you and move it to UMA or to whatever service else you want to go to. If you are using UVerse, I believe you're still using just the 2 wires that AT&T has in everybody's home. They do not want to have that service anymore because it costs them money, and you may be careful to watch to see if your telephone service bill is going to increase. They want you to get off of the landline, the 2-wire landline. If you had AT&T with a, say, fiber service, then that's not the same. That your information is coming in over a fiber optic line versus a mechanical 2-wire copper wire. But that's what we're seeing quite a bit, is that AT&T is increasing the price dramatically on the 2-wire standard old telephone service. So moving away to an internet-based service, all Spectrum, Cox, all the other services have service for telephone, which is called voice over IP. They're using the internet to transfer and connect those calls for you. And UMA does exactly the same thing. It's just a box that you buy. It's not tied to any internet service. And so if you have AT&T for Wi-Fi and also wired internet, then you can plug this box in from UMA, from Costco, and then that they will provide a telephone number for you. And you can say, no, I want to take this number. And then they will move that number for you from your old service to your new service. And that takes about 10 business days.
I see. So if I go to buy UMA, right, or I need a purchase this item, then after that, just pay the fees to those company.
That's right.
Okay. This UMA can replace all the other service for
Yes.
internet, all the 3, right? As you
No. UMA is only telephone.
Yeah, it's the device you purchase, right, UMA?
So the device only replaces the telephone service from AT&T. Does not replace anything. You have to provide your own internet service, whichever that would be.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Before I got UMA, I was paying, I think, $23 for landline service through Spectrum. So it was a big savings.
And I just wanted to point out to Della that this is separate from your cell phone service. This is to replace your landline, your home phone.
Oh, okay. Just a landline telephone.
Yeah,
Right?
the landline telephone. It's not your mobile telephone. This is the phone that you have in your house.
No, I got another question.
Okay, I have, Pat's got her hand back up.
Okay, yeah, there's, okay, listening to Della, so I've got the landline too. And, now this UMA, now my landline, it gives me caller ID and all this other stuff. Will you get that?
Yes.
Okay, how about blocking? Can you get blocking?
So if you look at the screen that I have up here from Costco, it shows you the items that are available. And yes, you have voicemail, caller ID, call waiting, 911, text alerts, call blocking.
Oh, wow, you get all that? Okay, well, that's.
Yeah, it's a full-fledged phone service. I've had it about 9 years, 10 years now.
Do you
And I
still have, do you still have the ability to make a 911 call if your power is out?
Power is out? No, only through my cell phone.
Oh, okay, well, that takes care of that.
That's,
But
that's,
again, and most people have portable phones that are run by power.
yeah,
If you lose power, you can't use that portable phone. You can use your cell phone, but you have to have a hardwired telephone. If you want to say, I want to be able to walk over to there if power's out and call wherever I want to go.
and if your hardwired telephone system is replaced by getting your signal in through fiber optics, that also requires requires power to be distributed through your house.
Right. So 30 some years ago, in where I was in Mira Mesa, they brought fiber to the house and they were going to connect it up and we're going to get all this stuff through fiber. Then the California Commission on Telephone Services, I think, said, well, wait a minute, you can't, if you bring in telephone service on fiber and power goes out, these people don't have telephone. You can't take that away. So they stopped that and have not proceeded anymore because of that. I think they have new rulings now that allow you then, because all the other voice over internet services don't provide telephone when the power goes out. I think that they have released that law. But so your cell phone is your better way at that point to tell them if you have an emergency. Now, be aware also that the cell phone does not report to 911 where you are.
Yep.
They are separate systems. They're trying to get them to be connected together, but you have to tell that person, this is where I am.
David, you're at the head of the list.
I was just going to ask Ross, on the UMA thing, it shows the base thing and one handset.
Right.
Can you get more handsets for that? Because like right now, we've got one in my office, one in my wife's office, another one in the living room.
I can answer that, David. I have, I think, a Samsung wireless telephone system with handsets in several different rooms, and I have that connected to UMA. Works great.
Okay,
So you have an RJ11 connection on the back of this device.
Oh, okay.
That you plug any standard RJ11 wired telephone into. Now, if it's a base unit for your Panasonic, it's got 12 phones, then that lights them all up.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we weren't tied to using just their handsets.
No, I use their handsets and I think they're great. And they have one with the one that we showed there on the single one. That's got a color picture in there. Now, where it gets that picture from, I don't know, but for $99. But yeah, you can have where it has two lines or three handsets, one handset, or any handsets that you choose.
Okay, so we basically I could take the wireless handsets that I have right now that's plugged into the phone jack of my cable modem. I could plug it into the phone jack of this thing.
And you're up there, you're good to go. There's no programming, there's no nothing that says, here we are. You got your dial tone and here we go.
Yeah, and as long as they port our number over, which was extra bucks.
Right. So well, that's back in the 70s, I think it was, is when we were getting slammed from one long distance service to another. Then the Federal Trade Commission came up where they had a process to say you have to go through these steps to where you approve it being moved from X to Y. And that's still the same service. And it's a 10 business day transaction. So what I recommend is you get the telephone from UMA, you plug in another handset into there, and then let them proceed. And you should get a phone call from the governing organization saying, okay, you're asked for and you want to do this. And you say yes, then they will allow that to go through. Once they all goes through, then your new phone when on UMA will ring and your old phones on the other service will stop.
Yeah, and I'll just move my RJ11 jack
Yeah.
from one to the other.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I wasn't quite sure if they were, locking you into just their handsets. That's
No.
but
So
apparently not.
again, when I moved in here where we are now, we've been here almost 15 years now. I had cell phone service with two lines, one line that I had originally, and then another one we added, and they wanted like $49. I was paying $89 a month for all the services, and I wanted another telephone line, and it was $49 per month for an additional phone line. So I said, oh, wait a minute. So then I went and checked, did some researches for reviews, and Consumer Reports recommended UMA. And since that's worked very well for me. And again, you can get it from Costco, and they don't sell junk or services that don't work well. And you still have 90 days to take it back to them and say, no, thank you. So I think UMA is a good service, works well. You give them a credit card and they bill you each month, and it just works.
Thank you.
I bought my UMA from Amazon without
Sure.
another handset, and I think it was in the $60 range. So
Sure.
you might look into that.
Sure.
Dan?
Yes, I have AT&T and internet and phone over internet, landline over internet. Cost me about $90 a month. But what I wanted to say is AT&T also sold me a uninterruptible power supply, which cost me about $100, I think, when I bought it. And what that does is if you do lose power, you can still call 911 or use the telephone.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I saw those devices, and yeah, that's a battery backup, and you can use any battery backup in there. But you need to test it, because any of the battery backups, just like a car battery, is only good for 3 years or so. So if you haven't tested it or had it replaced in 3 years, you need a new one. And I would buy an APC versus, that's, again, you're just plugging in the wall and you got a outlet on the back that provides AC power.
Well, my uninterruptible power supply doesn't work anymore because it's got a light on the front that says you need a new battery. But I'm not too interested in it anyway, so I hadn't bothered to replace it.
I would unplug it, and I do that when I go into people's offices that have an old battery backup system that's there, because what happens is that the battery backup system is still there and monitoring the power on the line. And so somebody comes in and plugs in a vacuum cleaner, turns it on, it puts a spike out, and the battery backup goes, whoa, wait a minute, power's going away. And it switches over to the battery side of that unit. No battery, no worky. So it causes lots of problems. So I don't recommend battery backups anymore, even for servers. I think you're better off just to plug into the wall, because over time, again, the batteries go south and nobody seems to want to put a maintenance contract or look at how long those batteries are good for.
Dan, are you done? Yes. Lola.
Ross, you mentioned about the Verizon 5G. What's that service?
That's okay. So we have to be careful when we're talking about 5G because there's two 5G services that we have. The first is 5th generation cellular service. And that's much faster than what 4G was. And it's still being rolled out. And on the phone, my phone, when I get into a 5G area, on the phone itself, on the top line, it says 5G. And all the cell phone services are going to that. It's a much faster bandwidth than what the 4G was. Now, my home internet is also using the same service, which is called 5G, but it's, again, through the cellular service that we're getting that from. And that's just a faster bandwidth. And with this modem, I have a much bigger path between my modem and Verizon so that I can have my home internet run at a faster speed than you would normally on a cell phone.
Verizon 5G internet service, how much do you pay for that?
Okay, so I will go back to here. Here on the screen, do you see where it says Verizon 5G home deals?
Right, 25?
Okay, so to get $25 a month, I had to pay another $10 a month for my Verizon cellular service. I had to combine the two, but it's $25 a month for that service.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Where-
Another question is, you says 5G for cell phone, but it depends what kind of cell phone you have. If your
That's
cell
right.
phone only can get 4G, then the 5G doesn't help anything, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think we are out of, oh, Will. Will, you're muted.
Ross, I thought I understood 5G, but what you were saying, are there two different 5Gs or does your cell phone service come in on the same as your internet service?
It's not exactly the same. In other words, you can't get as fast a speed on your cell phone for the 5G, but it's the same signal. Yes, the same 5G from Verizon goes to the cell phone and also goes to my modem. I look at my phone right here. So if I look at my phone right now, I do not have 5G service available to my cell phone, which is Verizon, and it's a newer phone. But I have a 5G modem. So there is a difference.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
As I understand it, the 5G system requires either bigger or more diverse cell towers to be installed around the town.
More, because it doesn't go as far. 5G has to be closer. The stronger, the faster the speed that we need to have, the shorter the distance it needs to go. So you're correct. But I believe most of the time that, what they're doing right now anyway, is they're not adding new towers. They're just enhancing the ones that they have. But they are going to have to add more towers. I had heard before something about that the modems that you get will become mini towers also and provide 5G in your area. But I'm not, again, I'm on my cell phone, it doesn't show 5G. So if it's providing 5G service, it's only for the internet. It's not for telephone service.
Interesting.
That's one of the
But
reasons. That's one of the reasons that I leaped into 5G.
Well, I understand, but again, you have to find where that service is. That to me is the direction that the companies are going to go to, because again, they can upgrade a tower. They don't have to come into the street and dig it up or go to the telephone poles and add more services there like they would need to if you're going to get fiber. That's something they're going to have to run and connect directly to your house to get fiber, where wireless comes over the air.
Ross, it sounds like the receiver, the 5G receiver you have in your is a receiver that basically then provides you internet. You can plug in your,
Right.
whereas it's not a tower that's providing a signal for someone else to connect to. It's,
I understand that, and that's my belief at this time, but when we started first talking about 5G wireless internet and having 5G towers, that was my understanding, is that some of the devices, just like the LTE device that Pat mentioned, when you connect that to your internet, that becomes then a tower for everybody else. But that's not what I'm seeing here, because there's no way I have to get my internet through the wireless. So it's not providing it to everybody else.
So it's not being a little neighborhood tower for everybody. But it may change.
Everything does, again, to me on here to say that they're not going to increase the price for 2 years, that's a big advantage to me, along with saving $90 a month.
Sharon,
Yeah, but I have a question, a little bit of question about the UMA. Seems to me over the years, I've bought different Panasonic landlines with answering machines. And as they have upgraded, they have allowed me to be used a handheld handset further away from the base. Is there a base limitation on the UMA? Question
No.
one. And
But
question two is there a head jack?
So all your questions are about the base unit, which is a device that you plug into either the wall for AT&T or in the back of your voice over internet service that you get from, say, Spectrum, or into the back of the UMA device. It's that same connection. So whatever you can plug in now, you can plug into your UMA. The distance that is from the unit to your handheld, that's dependent upon that particular unit. So you mentioned Panasonic. So if the new Panasonic lets you go 130 feet, then you plug into UMA and it's going to be 130 feet. That's dependent upon the Panasonic device. And again, with the earphone, that's dependent upon your Panasonic or whatever brand headphone or telephone that you have.
So the UMA, I'm just talking about the UMA with one handset, the UMA handset and the UMA device.
You mentioned Panasonic.
Just as a thing to compare that it increased the distance I could be. So does the UMA handset have a head jack?
Yes, I believe it does. I don't use mine, but it does.
And does it have a certain distance where I can take that UMA handset and go out to the courtyard or whatever?
Mine moves around my place, yes, just fine. But that's dependent upon that particular handset.
Correct. So I'm not, so sorry that I brought up the word Panasonic.
Well, but you don't have to get rid of the Panasonic. You can still use your existing Panasonic and buy it, say, maybe from Amazon, like Will said, get it without a handset and use your existing Panasonic handset if you like those.
Thank you.
That's what I do.
I don't see any more hands. So we will shift into Q&A. If there are, let's see, we'll ask Will to, ask Ross to stop sharing.
We have some questions up there now.
Well,
For Q&A.
Q&A, everybody who has a hand up is Q&A hand up, right?
Yes,
Nod your heads.
yes.
Oh, Saul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharon.
Yeah, I just came back from a long Amtrak train trip across the United States. And in the Amtrak sleeping rooms, they have one little plug. And the problem with that little plug is that I'm finding no matter where I go is that plug stretches out. So when you plug something in, it doesn't want to stay snug. Is there anything I can do to adjust a plug hole to make it fit better or get a bigger block? I don't know what it is. I don't know how that worked. And so when I went to hotels, the same thing was occurring. Some of the plugs where you plug in are loose. That's what I was trying to figure out how to fix that.
Is it a power?
Correct.
Well, sometimes you can spread the two prongs that you have there. If you spread them apart, that will help. Other than that,
Okay.
I don't know what else you can do.
Okay. So maybe try to spread them apart a little.
Yeah,
Great. I'll try that. I didn't want to do it without, damage anything. Thank you.
that won't damage anything.
Great. Thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, I'm just kind of reporting back. I don't know if anybody remembers, but I had that printer dialogue box that wasn't showing up and all that. And everybody had all the, do the PDF, the email and all this. Well, I got on it the other day and, I got the printer Quicken dialogue box up and of course it was grayed out and all that. And I decided to just hit print. And I hit print and it printed out just the way it should. So I don't know if anybody else ever has that problem. You might want to just try printing because it did work. And I got my reports like I wanted. Now I can do my taxes. So just thought, yeah.
Pat, when you brought up this subject previously, you said you only wanted to print a particular page, not all pages.
Right.
And so have you resolved that issue?
Yes, that's what I was just saying. Even though it was all grayed out, like I could see there was the first report and then there's the detailed report of the first report. So the detailed report would always show and it would always print. But when I would do the initial report, the 1-pager, instead of the 20-page details, it never showed. It was always great. And it had never done that before. This is the first year it's ever done it. And I've been doing this for like years and years. So this time I just decided, why not just hit print and see what happens? And then the whole thing printed out. So if anybody else has that problem, just because there's nothing there, it doesn't mean that nothing will print out.
Saul?
Thought that was interesting.
I wanted to address sort of a netiquette, I'll call it, like etiquette matter. And this would be for Bob White and Paul Mack. It's very distracting when we're not in a shared screen where we can see all the video tiles and gallery view to have your cameras just wandering around and stuff during a meeting. If you don't need your camera on, would you just turn it off so it's not distracting for the meeting? Thank you very much.
Well, they could just cover it up. That's what I do.
Yeah, get some black electrical tape and put it on your screen.
I can stop their video.
People should be able to handle their own stuff. It's okay. Just be polite. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. Fran?
So I have a question about downloading from YouTube. And I know there's a lot of third-party apps, which I've used before, but we now have premium YouTube and you're supposed to, one of the advantages is you get this download icon. You can download whatever you want. So it's mostly advertised on mobile back in 2021. But now they say you should get it from the desktop. So, but on my YouTube Premium on my desktop, I am not getting that download icon. Does anyone know anything about that? Looking at you, Ross. That's
No,
not-
I don't do that. I have not paid for an additional service from YouTube. I've used, if necessary, a third-party app that will then capture that video and save it. If you're paying YouTube for that, then they should come up with a way to say this is how you have to do it.
Yeah, so I spent my morning trying to figure that out, and I guess none of you are. So we paid for YouTube Premium because Ross, like you, like YouTube is one of our main things we watch.
Yep.
And by having YouTube Premium, we don't get the commercials in between and a lot of free movies. So I'm not going out to eat anymore. So that's our indulgence.
I would go straight to YouTube customer service and
You mean talk to somebody?
yeah.
There's a
There's a
thing called-
novel idea.
There's an ID thing called email that you can ask them a question or Google for it.
I've been Googling and I've been chat GPTing and that doesn't work. But I like that idea of talking to a person. I'll try that.
Yeah,
I
good luck.
have downloaded one, but I did it before I went on my train trip. So look for the YouTube instructions on how to do it on a YouTube instructional video. Because
Okay.
I was able to do it. So I was able to watch it on the train because I didn't have internet.
Okay.
Yeah, I find
Do you have
YouTube
premium?
search.
I do.
I find YouTube search very helpful.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah. Sharon, do you get the icon on your desktop?
I have it. It shows up whenever I open up YouTube. It's on the left side of the screen, and it shows premium. It already tells me I'm on premium.
Yes, but when you open up a video, you're supposed to have an icon that says download.
I cannot remember. I know that I have downloaded one.
Okay.
So I can't do that research. If you want to have a private session, you and I, we can do it together.
That's okay. I've done everything I could possibly do.
Well, look for the search on how to download. It'll tell you.
I'll do that. Thank everybody.
Okay,
David?
David.
All right, I was going to ask Ross, I'm just going to share my screen. I was looking at the UMA ones on the Amazon, and apparently there's a couple different versions of these guys. If I did, there's the regular, it looks just like what you had of the 3 handsets. Then there's these other guys here that say it's an Air 2 version. They say wireless and Bluetooth. Do you know any of what the difference would be between the Umatello and the Umatello Air 2?
Well, it depends on how you want to connect it up, but there is an 800 number to talk to UMA. And I would say you could talk to them directly and get that information from them. If this one that's there as Amazon's choice, if that included wireless connection versus having to be a hardwired connection, then that would be a reasonable thing to have. I really like buying things from Costco because if nothing else, you get an extra year warranty on that device.
Yeah, I just don't have a Costco membership, but that's okay.
Okay.
David, what was the $49 one?
That was the refurb one.
Oh, refurbed. Okay. Sometimes refurbed is better than new in that somebody actually has looked at it and tested it, which is not often the case with new things.
So to me, it should be about half the price. If it's going to be used, it should be half the price of a new one, or if not, then I'm buying the new one.
Yeah, that's, it's 80 and this was 50. So it is.
But Amazon guarantees these things for you. So
anyway, I was just wondering if you knew of any of, if there, because it looks like the Bluetooth one has to, I can connect through my wireless network in order to get the internet connection, whereas the other one, I probably plug it straight into my my router box or whatever.
Right, right. And I have wireless internet now, but in general, I prefer if it's available to use a wired connection, not wireless. It's much more reliable.
Yeah. So
I connect my UMA to my router.
Yeah, because I think that's probably what I would do too. I would just but from until I do the 5G thing, from my cable box to my router goes wired up to my TV and can go wired over to this thing, and then the wireless goes to the other computers in the other rooms.
Today, I want to.
Alrighty, thank you,
David. I would just add, anything you can hardwire doesn't compete with the Wi-Fi that you're using for your portable devices. So the UMA is not moving around. It's stationary. Hook it up with an Ethernet cable.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's probably the same, one of the reasons why I hook up my TV with the Ethernet cable. It's not sucking my bandwidth while I'm watching TV, so my wife can still do whatever she wants on her computer.
So if we get into a situation where the Wi-Fi is not working to a television, or you need to have Wi-Fi in another room, you might look at the devices from TP-Link through Amazon, and they have devices that'll plug into the wall, and you can run a wire to it by your router, and then plug a second device in where you need to have it, and then it can have either a wired or a wireless connection at that point. But it can use the wire, if it's a power or Ethernet over power, it's using the wires in the house. It's not having to use the Wi-Fi to get there.
And I have just done that for my streaming service to my television, because the Wi-Fi just did not work that well.
Yep.
Between my modem and router, which is in one room, and my TV, which is at the other end of the house. So I bought this thing that Ross is talking about. It says TP-Link Pass-Through Power Line Starter Kit. You get two little boxes that are about 2 inches by 3 inches.
Right.
Plug in one in my study and wire that to my router, and plug in the other one in my family room and run a wire between it and my TV. And now I get streaming solid.
I have that hooked up for what I have in my place here, because I have a distance between where my modem is, my internet service, and is where in the TV in the front room. They also, TP-Link has, and I've used successfully at many customers, is the device that's a wireless extender. And then you plug that in halfway in between where you are as your source and then where your destination is. And then you can push the button on there. It will chain onto your existing Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And, I've actually tried both of those. The one in the walls didn't work, just, I think, because of the wiring that was in my house. They were on different circuits that had to go all the way out through a panel by the garage and back, and that didn't work. But the extender worked fine. To get my wireless out in the garage, I put the extender basically halfway in between, and now I can get wireless in the garage.
Perfect.
Yeah, for everybody's edification, almost every house has their 110 volt outlets, half on one side of the 220 that comes into your house and neutral, and the other half on the other side of the 220 that come and neutral. So you have to get lucky and plug these TP-Link boxes into two that are on the same side.
And I did. I was not lucky.
I was not lucky either. A couple of questions I have. Ross, you mentioned that you had a third-party YouTube downloader. What is that third-party program?
I don't remember. I haven't used it in so long. I would Google for that, reviews on YouTube download utilities, and find which one is one that you may have to pay $10, $12 for, and use that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sharon, question. You said you went across the United States on a train. Was there any internet capability on that?
No.
On the train?
That's what
No,
she
not
said.
unless you had your own cellular service. All I had were devices that were reliant on Amtrak free Wi-Fi. And there was not any. And I went from here to Portland, to Chicago, to Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, back to Emeryville, and back to San Diego. The only time I had internet was on the Coast Starlight, or I'm sorry, Pacific Surfliner.
Yeah. Would you recommend this trip?
Yes. Yes. And I went as a single person. And I booked the hotels and accommodations myself, and I had a great time. It's my speed, the quietness of the train, they pair you with different people to sit with at the mealtime. I definitely would not have done it without a roomette. The roomette is small, but I worked with it. It was fine for me. So yes, I definitely would recommend it, and I would say give it a shot.
So you can
You
get
have
off
those-
at any station and
No,
and then
No,
get
no,
back on?
you book your, I booked my journey. I booked my whole journey. So in other words, I went from here to Portland. Then when I got in Portland, I stayed at a hostel. Then I left Portland and went to Chicago and stayed at a hotel. Then I went to DC and stayed at a university, a deaf university that had a conference center on part of it. So I accommodated it based on how many days I wanted to spend the time. And I did not duplicate any train ride. I took all different trains.
Could I just ask if you're referring to Portland, Oregon versus Portland, Maine?
Oregon,
Oh,
West,
okay.
West Coast.
And did the trains have any of those dome cars where you can,
Yes, most of them on the long haul trains from the West Coast to the East Coast or East Coast to West Coast do have dome cars. And that makes a bloody difference because that roomette is really tiny. So when you want to go ahead and see what's out there in the world, that observation car or sightseer lounge is valuable. They do have a cafe lounge with I'm hoping to do. I'm going back to Chicago in October and I'm taking the Texas Eagle back, which is a long train ride. It's 4 days, but because I like trains now, I know that it works for me. That one won't have an observation car for the first half. So I'm going to use the cafe car to sit and look out the window.
Do
and
you,
that's not extra charge on the trains that have them, right? You just go and
Correct.
find a seat?
Correct.
do you book this through?
Based on availability, and they have plenty of plugs in the observation car, so you can plug in your devices to charge them. And when you book when you book the long distance trains with a roomette, your meals are included.
Do you book this through a travel agent?
I did for the first trip. For the first trip, when I did I did Amtrak vacations, and I used them for the train rides. I booked the accommodations on my own. This time I've now booked for Chicago. I've done the whole thing myself.
Did you find it crowded? Was it highly occupied or?
Yes, it will be. And the other secret is try to do it at least maybe 6 months in advance because you'll get the better price. That seems to make a difference. And try different trains because the one coming from upper United States through Colorado was gorgeous. It's called the Empire Builder, and the other one is called the California Zephyr. They're both incredible views. But it's more than that. It's also the people that I had lunch with, people that came over in the Queen Mary. I mean, I just had a fabulous time. It was more than just the journey. It was the whole journey package, so to speak.
Can
And
I
I took,
inquire into?
and I took public transit everywhere I went. When I got to Chicago, when I got to Portland, Oregon, I took public transit. I didn't take Uber. I didn't take Lyft. I used the public transit system.
What does it cost to go across the US?
It looks like now the one in Chicago that I'm going to in this fall, round trip from here to Chicago and back, going to 2 different trains, is around $2 grand.
Mhm.
But that includes your transportation, all your meals, and hotel, because you're staying on the train. You're sleeping on the train.
And how
Yeah.
many days, home to home?
It takes 3 days. I'm going to leave on a Friday. I'm going to be in Chicago on a Sunday. When I leave Chicago, I'm leaving on a Friday and I'm back home on a Monday. So it's longer coming back because I wanted to do a different train.
I'm
Interesting.
trying to compare it with a cruise ship, which generally runs about $100 a day per person, including all the food.
It's not that kind of affordability. It's different. It's a different lifestyle also. It's just a different way another mode to travel. And if you want to try it as an experiment, try it in the state of California.
Yeah.
Just try it and go to San Francisco and come back or whatever. Just see what it's like.
Yeah.
And there is a California Rail Pass, which I have done twice with a friend, where you can buy a California Rail Pass for $153 and you have 7 travel days and 21 days to be gone for $153 in California. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm
Thank you.
considering the trip across from, I believe, San Francisco to Banff. No, I'm sorry, from Victoria to Banff.
I haven't done the Canadian.
Has anybody on here has done that particular trip?
I
I
did
think
look
we're in a
this morning.
travel group, Will, that you're addressing to a computer user group.
Well, we're talking about all kinds of things.
I understand, but
so-
Pat has her hand up and she might forget her question if you don't get to her soon.
Okay, Pat, Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to, someone was mentioning, and I forgot now who, the TP link, maybe it was Ross. And I was wondering, the TP link sounds just like a glorified extender. Did I get that right? It's just like another extender?
It's a way to get your Wi-Fi signal or to get your internet signal for streaming from where your router is to where your TV is through wires instead of through Wi-Fi.
So
Okay.
TP Link is a large company, kind of like saying Netgear or Asus. They make a number of different products. The ones that we spoke about were two different kinds. One that you have 2 units, one that plugs in the wall at your source place, maybe by your router, and then one that goes to wherever you need to have a wired internet. And you put that at the other end, and then you can use the wiring in your house to extend that network. The other from TP Link, which is an extender also, is a single unit, and it chains in on your existing Wi-Fi. So again, if you have a back bedroom or something that's not getting internet, then you can plug this device halfway in between where your Wi-Fi router is and the bedroom and see if it'll link up there. Then it will amplify the signal so that it makes it to the back bedroom.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
And I use a TP Link smart plug. So
Yeah.
that it pairs with my Alexa devices. So I like the TP smart plug, and they have really good phone support.
Okay.
I'm Googling the TP Link Ethernet adapter. Let me see if I can find.
You might go to Amazon and just do that for TP Link, and it'll show you all the items, which are the more popular ones that are being sold by Amazon. You don't have to buy it from Amazon, but it does give you a reference there.
Yeah, just a minute.
I would like to use. Go ahead.
Wired Magazine does reviews on these types of things all the time. And so again, I would say if you're looking for a wireless extender, again, Google for wireless extender reviews. Because sometimes you can see here that maybe there's one that's for $10 more that works twice as good.
Here it is. These are the 2 little boxes that I have, and comes with a coiled wire that you plug into to the bottom of one of the boxes, or to the bottom of each of the boxes. And as I say, at one end it gets plugged into your router, and the other end it gets plugged into your TV. And unfortunately, I don't see the. Let's see. Nope. There's a very good illustration on the side of the box that shows how it works that I was hoping I could find.
Just keep on going down, sir.
You think? There's TP Link. And down and down and down and down.
Yeah,
Well,
nice.
it has a video there on how it works, but again, it's a
Yeah.
way to use the wiring in the house to extend your Ethernet connection.
Yeah, I have a TP Link, but unfortunately, like David, I think it's on 2 different circuits. Is there any way around that?
Hire an electrician and they'll move the breaker over to the other side
Yeah.
in your circuit breaker panel.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to do that because you're cheap, you
Which
can
we
just
are.
you can find a different electrical outlet that might be on that same side and just run a little longer Ethernet cable.
Yep.
Or use the wireless kind that has one connection. So if again, you're trying to extend your wireless connection, then you can use that to extend it. And I do that. And then at the other end, plug a wire into that TP Link extender. And then I have a wired internet connection at the other side.
I don't see any more hands. Are we all done with Q&A? Nobody has any more problems.
I just, I'm showing my modem and router. And it's a TP link and the router just sits on top of my modem. While I have the floor, I want to thank everybody for being here and welcome back. And Saul and I will hold on till the last person leaves if anybody wants to chat one-on-one.
That's if Hank wants to transfer the host to one of us.
I think you're already co-host.
You have to be host to end the meeting officially at Zoom.
Yeah, but I can leave the meeting and turn it over to the co-host of Saul.
You could make me the host, yes.
And you're willing to stick around, or shall I make Stan the host?
Either one is fine.
Okay.
Saul, I was wondering, I thought if the host leaves, I think a co-host automatically gets promoted to being host.
Well, I can assign anyone to, let me just see how this works. I'm assigning Stan, who is not a co-host right now, and I will assign and leave, and Stan will become the new host, and Saul will remain a co-host, I'm pretty sure.
To answer David's question, Zoom is very fickle, like all technology, and it's up to whatever it wants to do. So there is no a definitive answer to say that's how it's going to work, because it changes, as you know, from the opening of this session when Dan said it looks different. Yes, they changed their appearance. Well, they changed a lot of stuff, and it doesn't always work the same way.
But what should happen is not always what does happen.
But
Well,
you
what's the
find out
distinction
what will happen when you get to, I'm going to cancel this right now. I come down to where it says end, the red box in the lower right corner. And if I click that, I have two choices: leave meeting and end meeting for all. If I click leave meeting, then I get assign a new host box comes up. And everyone who is on here is in that list. So I can pick anyone who's here and make them the new host and leave. I'm going to make Stanley the new host. And the next thing you will see when I say leave is not me.